The prequel to Mission 1, All in a Day's Work, Sophia Meets Pedro, a reading from Chapter 11, A Forewarning. After lunch in the garden, Sophia and Pedro returned to their library sleuthing. Miss Grissom approached the two and handed Sophia a note card with a website address. Start your research with this site. It has many articles by experts and other useful resources. Plus, you can do it from home if you don't finish here. Sophia and Pedro thanked her for her help and pulled up the website. This time they shared one computer, taking turns typing and reading to each other in hushed voices. Sophia, being Sophia, read first. A four-story multipurpose factory in Newark, New Jersey caught on fire on November 26, 1910, and killed 25 young women. It foreshadowed the Triangle Fire, which occurred 4 months later, almost to the day, on March 25, 1911. 6 workers burned to death, while 19 jumped out the windows to die on the street. The building was clear on all four sides. A fire engine and ladder truck were nearby. A paper box company and a machinist occupied the first floor. Another box company occupied the second. The third floor held two separate electric companies. A muslin undergarment company occupied the top floor. Although the current legal thickness of floors was 3 3/4 inches, the older wooden floorboards were only 2 inches thick, and it had absorbed years of grease and oil. Wooden staircases encircled 3 sides of the elevator shaft between the floors. Several exits were on the lower floors, but only one narrow staircase led down from the fourth floor and ended at the locked door. The fire escape was an iron ladder extending from the fourth floor fire balcony to the third floor balcony. An iron ladder flat against the wall connected the third floor with the roof of the boiler house. There was a second fire escape, but the owners of the building built it over a public highway. Reaching the ground from the second-story fire balcony required lifting a ladder hanging from the third-floor balcony into place. It was too heavy for many of the female workers. The sill of each window leading out into the fire escape was 4 feet above the floor. Workers reached the window sill leading to the fire escape by a 4-foot wooden platform. On November 25, 1910, a fire broke out in the third-floor lamp factory. A young woman sat making light bulbs by placing filaments in a vacuum pump, removing the air and then pumping it full of gasoline vapor. She carbonized the filaments by applying an electric current to them. This time the bulb exploded. Her boss threw sand on the fire while workers rushed for more. Because of the liability concerns after 10 fires in the last decade, the bosses were hesitant to call the fire department. There was no fire alarm to summon help. A worker rushed across the street to alert the fire department. Rather than call it into the Central Fire Command, the captain returned with a fire extinguisher. The fire was already burning out of control. To summon help, he smashed a window and shouted across the street for other companies to be alerted. The exits couldn't handle the 116 girls and errand boy who needed to escape. The tall wooden platform that gave access to the fire escape crashed and fell to the floor. Window sashes dropped, trapping the girls as they crawled out. Only when the heat became unbearable did the girls jump. The drop ladder at the front of the fire escape was too weighty for the girls and women to move. After examining the Newark fire scene, an expert on the fire insurance and protection from fire issued a stark warning. New York City has 30,000 industrial sites. Almost 700,000 employees are working in 12,000 buildings. Only a few are fireproof. It's a matter of time until this type of fire happens in New York City. 9 days before the Triangle Fire, a special board filed a report with the building, fire, and police departments, as well as the mayor of the New York City. They had inspected 1,234 garment loft shops and called out the horrendous safety hazards in a majority of the garment manufacturing lofts. 14 lofts had no fire escapes, and 65 used straight ladder-style escapes. They were difficult for women in long skirts to navigate and required being an experienced ladder climber. I doubt many women or men either were experienced ladder climbers, said Pedro. Legally, only loft dimensions, not occupancy, were used to calculate the number of exits and fire escapes needed. The Triangle Factory had over 300 people working on one floor, measuring 900 square feet. There was one fire escape of the wrong type, which ended 2 floors above the ground level, said Pedro. That is pathetic, disgusting disgusting and horrible and illegal, Sophia said in a harsh whisper. They sat in silence, trying to absorb what they had just learned and what the next step in their investigation should be. In the prequel, Sophia Meets Pedro, Sophia is having a tough time at the end of fifth grade. She is bored and acting out, but then she is allowed to take an advanced placement test. There she meets Pedro, and they quickly become best friends and super sleuths. At a book and pizza party at the Jefferson Memorial Library in New York City, they learn about the Shirtwaist Strike of 1909, which leads to the new friends pursuing a library mystery to investigate the tragic and preventable Shirtwaist Factory Fire of 1911. Sophia's only relative has recently passed. She has no friends her age, and her parents were killed in a suspicious car wreck as a baby. Pedro lives alone 5.5 days a week, while his parents work as live-in servants on Long Island. Sometimes tragedies teach us how to cope with difficulty and/or upsetting subjects. They can teach children about empathy, understanding, justice, and compassion. Get your free copy at www.susanstoderl.net.